Throughout the centuries, there were men who took first steps down new roads, armed with nothing but their own vision. The great creators, the thinkers, the artists, the scientists, the inventors, stood alone against the men of their time. Every new thought was opposed, every new invention was denounced. But the men of unborrowed vision went ahead. They fought, they suffered, and they paid, but they won. No creator was prompted by a desire to please his brothers. His brothers hated the gift he offered. His truth was his only motive.
Okay, this is Block Politics Radio, and I am your host, Mikado Hunt. Today's episode is titled The Ancestry Project Part 2. Now, hopefully you've had a chance to check out the Ancestry Project Part 1, which you can find at blockpolitics.com and also at YouTube. So make sure you check that out. If you do that, you'll see that I did a DNA test that traces the paternal side of my family tree. And it'll tell you exactly, where we're from, and it'll even do a little DNA migration thing where you can see how we migrated. So as we're waiting for those results, I thought it'd be good to go ahead and do the maternal side of my family tree. Now, with the maternal side of the family tree, I decided to take a different route. I decided to use the census forms. Now, I know a lot of you, or you should be familiar, that we have a lot of search engines on the internet that have archived all of the census forms from all over the country. And that's a good thing. And they're very easy to access. So, that's what I decided to do. And surprisingly, I think I might have got a jackpot. So let's get into this. All right, now what I'm about to show you is the census forms. And we're going to go over that, and I'm going to show you how to read them, and then we're going to show you what's on them. Okay, so let's start off first. We're doing the maternal side of the family tree, so I start off with my mother, of course, and I jumped straight from my mother to my mother's grandmother, and she went by the name of Estella McGee. Now, when I put Estella McGee into the search engine, a lot of things jumped up, but they all were from like the 1950s, and sadly, they didn't have documents with them. It was kind of like somebody just wrote down or typed what was on the document and just put it on a spreadsheet, you know what I'm saying? So it really wasn't the documents. But, I found that I could see exactly when they issued her Social Security card. It was like in the early 50s. You can see her Social Security number. She was born January 14th, 1913. She ascended into the heavens in October of 1986. It shows things like that, where she lived. And, that's all it shows, really. So I was kind of disappointed in that. So what I decided to do was to go ahead and search with the maiden name, which happened to be West. And that is where I found everything. So let's get into that. I typed in Estella West, and it appears she pops up on the 1920 census form done in Georgia. So let's go ahead and look at the census form. So this is what it looks like. As you see, it says it's the state of Georgia. The county is Bibb County. The Department of Commerce, Bureau of the Census. The 14th census of the United States, done in 1920. All right. I'm going to show you how to read this. The name of the incorporated place was Macon City. It was done on the 19th day of January, 1920. So you can see everything. This is the official document, and this is what I was saying I couldn't find under McGee, but I found under West. Okay, so we're going to go over how to read this document. Now, if you look to the left, and I should have the screen moving around for you, so it says place of abode. And on here, they're asking how many people live in the house, what type of house it is, and actually where it's located. If you look in the next part, you actually see this is where you put your name of each person who lives there on January 1st, 1920. And it goes into that. You can see they have a spot for how you're related to the person that's living in the house. It shows if you rented or owned the home. It shows a personal description, which goes from the sex, color, or race, the age as of the day of the census was done, and also if you're single, married, or widowed. It has your citizenship mark, a spot for education, a spot that shows your place of birth and your mother tongue, a spot that shows your father's place of birth and mother tongue, and a spot that shows your mother's place of birth and mother tongue. Okay? So that's all cool things to see what's going on the census form. So now we're going to scroll down and actually get to the good part. So this is what I found on the 1920s census form. Scroll down here and you will see we have a Emma West. And she has somebody by the name of Estella West who is living with her. And it has their relationship down as grandchild. So that's a big deal. And this is the 1920 census form. And if you look, you'll see that Estella is 7 years old in 1920, meaning she was born in 1913. So we know we have the right person. Okay, we see that her grandmother is 65 on the 1920 census list, which means that she was born in 1854, which I found out later. I'll show you that though. Okay, so that's a big deal. We have both of them on this form. All right, now we also have the other people that's living with them. They have 2 people living with them, and they have them listed as boarders. Now, I looked this term up, and this means that she rented rooms out to these 2 people. One goes by the name of Ella Jackson. One goes by the name of Violet Dukes. All right, they're both females, African-American. Ella Jackson was 40 years old. She was single. And Violet Dukes was 20 years old and single. And they were both African Americans. Also, if you scroll down here, it shows you about the education. It says that the Estella West was attending school or expecting to attend school. It shows that let me see. You can see everybody's education. You can see that Emma West was not able to read or write in English. It doesn't speak about her mother tongue, though. And if you see on all the African Americans on the list that it really doesn't speak on the mother tongue or any language that they spoke. It just says that they couldn't read and write, but you see that the 2 people that she rented rooms out to could read and write. And so, you know, you can just imagine the home setting on how everybody moved around and helped each other out. As we continue to scroll down, you'll see that Emma was born in South Carolina and that both of her parents were born there also. You'll see that Estella West was born in Georgia and both of her parents were born in Georgia also. You'll see that Ella was born in Georgia and her parents also were born in Georgia. And you'll see that Violet was from Alabama and both of her parents were from Alabama. When we go down to their jobs, we'll see that Emma was already retired at this time. She was 65, and I guess she was making her money by renting the rooms out to Ella and Violet. So they have her job, or what do you want to say? Her occupation is none. And at 65, she's probably retired. Of course, Estella wasn't working yet. She's only 7 years old, so she's like a little one. And you'll see the people living with her. You'll see that Ella was a maid by day. So that means she was a maid helping around the house for Emma West, helping out with Estella, little Estella. And by, her day job, she worked at a drugstore. And you'll see she marked a W down for that she earned wages. And we'll also see on this list that Violet was a desk maker. So she made desks, and during the day, she worked at a cafe, and she earned regular wages. And you'll see they both put a W down for that. So this is the 1920 census form, and I thought that it showed a lot of things that I could use to continue to go back even further. Because here we go. I found, our grandmother at the age of 7 in Georgia, still in Macon, Georgia. So we're going to go and check out Emma now. So I typed in Emma down. I typed in the year she was born, and I typed in the location that she was born, which is South Carolina. And bow, as you see, I come up with another census form. And this one is the one that is most impressive because it was done on the 17th day of June in or in 1880. Okay, so this one is pretty good and goes back very far, and it gives us an insight into a lot of things. I've already told you that in 1920, Emma was a widow. Now, on this census form, I get to see who her husband is, how Emma got the name West. So we're able to track the name West back to the 1800s. So I thought that was a pretty big deal. All right, so we got Dave West. It's her husband on this census form, and it pretty much reads the same way. I'll just do a quick preview. You have a spot for the place where you live. You have another spot for your name of everybody in the building, their relation to each other, their occupation, so you get to see everything. So in the 1880s, Emma West was married to Dave West. She was 26 years old, and Dave was 31 in 1880. They were happily married. David was a farmer, and his wife was a homemaker. It says that she was at home. So she was at home taking care of the kids. She had 2 kids. Well, I'm sorry, way more than 2 kids. Let me see. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kids. All right. So we have Mary West. We have Martha West. We have Anna West. We have Daniel West. And we have Lovey West. And they're all living in this residence. As you can see, they check the spots off that they were married. You can see that they have daughter and everything. They have wife written down, son written down. So all that's there. Okay, so this is where things get exciting. And I know you're thinking, what's more exciting than this? We already got it going back to 1880. What can be more exciting than that? All right, so let's give a second look at the census form. And when looking this time, we'll see that they are not the only Wests that live in this area. So this lets you know they were living around a lot of family. Now, right above Dave West, you see the leftover from somebody else's list. And when I say that, census forms back then, of course, there was no computers. They was written forms, so they were stapled together. So you flip from page 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, and you can see that we have the rest of somebody's family on here. So let's look. We have Francina West and Lily West right above Dave West, and you also see their age. We have Francina West is 2 years old, and Lily West is 2 months. They indicate that by putting 2 over the 12, 2 months. And you see she was born in March. Now that's kind of cool. So this is somebody else's kids that's on this census form. But if you flip the census form over, we would see who her parents were. But sadly, we don't have that list. We only have this one. So we get to see those kids. So we know there were some more West that lived right there. Now let's look down below Dave West. We'll see somebody named Jack Thomas. That was his neighbor. And house over, we find Charlotte West. All right. Now, Charlotte West was 20 years old. You see that right here. And it looks like she had a daughter by the name of Manny West, who was 1 month years old. And they indicate that by putting a 1 over the 12. And they say she was born in May. Now, the cool thing about this is when you look in the race, you see that Charlotte West and Manny West are mixed. Okay? And they have somebody living with them. And I'm sorry, I cannot read this name. And I zoomed all the way in, but I just can't read it. I don't know what that says. Starts with a B. I can tell you that. And it was a African-American male, and he was 32 years old, and he lived with Charlotte. They're not married or anything like that, but he's there. And it shows that Charlotte works on a farm, and it shows that the person living with her was also in the farming. All right, and their parents both were born in South Carolina also. And so as you see, they had a little community of family. So we all together, we have Charlotte West, Manny West, and you have Dave West and his family, and you also see you have these people, kids above them. So apparently they were all in the same community. All right? So that's what I found. Now let's go ahead and put this all in context and see what was going on in these time periods.